All right, we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating today. A group, or maybe it's more of an idea, called LiminalSec. Now, depending on who you talk to, they're either artists, saboteurs, or something else entirely. But one thing's for sure, the people whose job it is to keep things stable, yeah, they're taking this very, very seriously. I mean, just listen to this. This isn't from some sci-fi script. It's a direct quote from a threat assessment by the Office of Cognitive Security and Reality Integrity. A systemic corrosion vector. Wow, that is heavy language. So what on earth is this group doing that's got people so worried? Well, to get that, we have to first understand the world they operate in. You see, to really wrap your head around LiminalSec, you have to get a handle on their field of play. They're not operating in the physical world. Their whole stage is this concept they call the dataplex, and it is absolutely central to everything they do. So what is the dataplex? It's super important to get that this isn't a place, like the internet. Think of it more as the entire ecosystem where meaning gets built and negotiated. It's kind of like the intellectual air we all breathe. It's where our beliefs, our stories, and our whole sense of what's real are actually formed. And just look at how comprehensive this is. The dataplex isn't just your social media feed. Nope. It's the big stories told by institutions, it's the very language we use to think, and yeah, it's even the algorithms that decide what pops up next on your screen. If it shapes what you think and believe, it's part of the dataplex. Okay, so if the dataplex is the environment, then what's the mission? Well, it isn't to just tear everything down. Instead, LiminalSec's whole goal is to find the hidden cracks, the points of structural weakness. And they have a special name for them, seams. Oh, I just love this definition, where reality's wallpaper peels. It's such a perfect image, isn't it? A seam is that one spot where a story or a belief only holds together because something is being ignored or actively hidden. It's not necessarily a lie, but it's a point of extreme fragility. And this gives you a great idea of what they're looking for. You've got your narrative seam, where a story is just a little too clean. An authority seam, where someone's in charge just because they act like they're in charge. And then there's the silence seam, and this one is so fascinating. It's where the most important thing is the thing that everyone has silently agreed not to talk about. And their method? It's not some big frontal assault. It's subtle. They just find a spot that feels a little too perfect, and they ask a gentle, weird little question that doesn't quite fit the script. They're not really looking for an answer. They're watching the reaction, the sudden anger, the quick change of subject, the evasion. That over-the-top reaction, that's the signal. That's how they know they've just touched a seam. Now, look, all of this could just sound like chaos for the sake of chaos, right? Just high-level trolling. But this is what makes LiminalSec so different. It's their method. It's all governed by a very strict, self-imposed ethical framework. And here's their number one rule, their golden rule, really. Do not punch down. Their targets are always systems, huge narratives, structures of authority. They never go after individuals who don't have power or groups that are already vulnerable. That's the bright line that separates what they do from simple harassment. And this quote from their own protocol, man, it just says it all. For them, pointing out the weaknesses of the powerless isn't some brilliant insight. It's just cruelty. It's a moral line in the sand, and it seems to be the absolute foundation of their entire operation. And the framework just keeps going. They don't make up lies, they only point to contradictions that are already there. They try to minimize any real harm. And this one's a big deal. Self-application is mandatory. They believe that if you can't find the seams in your own thinking, you have absolutely no business poking around in anyone else's. So you've got this group using these subtle methods, all guided by a really strict code of ethics. How does the outside world, the very systems they're probing, actually see them? Well, the official responses are, they're all over the place. On one hand, you have an agency like DISA, and they take this almost philosophical view. They don't really see LiminalSec as an enemy, but more like a natural immune response, a question that the system itself creates to test its own integrity. Kind of deep, right? And then you get this, from a rival entity called MetaSec, a distributed amphibian intelligence. I mean, what does that even mean? It's so bizarre and so funny, but it perfectly captures the total confusion that a group like LiminalSec causes in more rigid, corporate-style organizations. And finally, we come full circle, back to that serious assessment from OCSRI. This analyst note suggests their very nature is unstable, that trying to define them is like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall, because the act of looking at them actually changes what they are. And that is a seriously unsettling thought. So what do we do with all this? After all the analysis and the threat assessments and the weird amphibian theories, LiminalSec's own messages frame their work not as an attack, but as an invitation. An invitation that's aimed directly at us. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. The goal isn't to destroy anything. The goal is to get us to peel back that veneer of simplicity and just look at the complex, messy, and sometimes contradictory machinery that's running underneath everything. It's a call for deeper, more patient looking. And this is the real kicker. There's no membership form, no secret handshake. According to their philosophy, LiminalSec is simply a way of paying attention. It begins the moment you see a seam for yourself, that little inconsistency that everyone else is just ignoring. In their worldview, the act of noticing is the act of taking part. So that brings us to the final question they leave us with. After seeing how all these systems are built, how these stories are maintained, and how easily it can all be unsettled by just one gentle little poke, the question gets turned back on you. The next time you come across something that feels perfect, obvious, inevitable, beyond question, what are you going to do? Will you just tilt it?